Thank you, everybody, for tuning in again to Coder Conversations. If you want to catch up on any previous episode, visit us at www.coderconvos.com. I'm your co-host, Kevin, and I'm with.
Brian Russick. I'm professional drummer, drum teacher based out of the Suffolk County, Long Island, New York area. I could be found on the web at brianrussick.com.
Awesome. And for today's guest, we have Roshan Diwakar, machine learning and data engineer at Google. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for
It's a
coming on.
pleasure to have you. Bit of a struggle to get you on, but we finally got it going.
Indeed, technology, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
But yeah, just to get things started, you have a very extensive background in software. So can you walk us through your career a little bit?
Sure. How far do you want to go back, though?
I guess probably like the most recent 10 years or so.
Sure, absolutely. So currently, I'm working at Google as a data slash machine learning slash AI engineer. So all those three terms get interchanged depending on the project or the role that you're in. So I've been at Google for 7 years, always sort of like fascinated by data and building systems. And currently, I work for the Google search team, and we are sort of I'm helping them build data pipelines for to help out their machine learning and uh, a training of Gemini models.
No, awesome. Have you always been in like AI in that space, machine learning and AI space, or did you start off as like a more general software engineer?
So kind of like the answer is both, as in if you really want the true story, right? So growing up, I had nothing, as in like in my family had a radio and a bicycle. That was the amount of technology that we had at our home back in India.
Oh,
Until age 12, I didn't even have a TV. So the first time I saw a TV, real TV, was when I was 12. Um, and so because I didn't have any TV and radio was the only source of entertainment, I sort of like picked up playing a game on my own. Like in India, there's a popular sport called cricket. So I just literally picked a stick and a ball,
right.
and I started hitting it against the wall. And I'm alone because we also had moved to a new neighborhood where there were no people moved in yet. So I was playing alone. So and I need a way to sort of like sort of note down the score. So I literally took a piece of paper and a pencil and started sort of like noting down the scores.
Right.
And cricket is very much like baseball. It's a very statistic and data oriented game. So you there's a lot of numbers in cricket. So and I'm playing. I'm making imaginary teams and playing against myself and like basically scorecards, right?
Right.
And in
Right.
cricket, unlike baseball, there is large scores. Like in baseball, you have like a 5-0 or 6-0 runs, but in cricket, it can go to 300, 400, 500 runs.
Wow.
So I'm
Okay.
noting all these numbers, so, but and I have to calculate the total and everything, and I'm doing everything in my head. Like, so I'm adding these numbers on my head. This is like I'm age 10 or 11, so I'm sort of like I've naturally developed the intuition to add numbers in my head. So I'm adding numbers, I'm calculating stats, and all these like it's all I'm doing on my head, right? So in the sense, so this is where I got attracted to data, right? Like, and people don't understand like when you do math in your head, it's not just math in your head. You get a sense of the magnitude of numbers, as in like, okay, if you add these numbers, these things emerge. So like automatically your brain is wired to sort of like think everything in numbers. So what's going to happen is you're going to sort of like see the world through numbers. So and if you and again go back to 2025, what is happening is what is machine learning? It is literally that, right? You're modeling the world and you're literally using numbers, right? So in the
Right.
same, so you can model the entire world um, as numbers, right? Like the universe is just numbers. So I had developed that intuition, like I said, when I was 10, just by playing cricket and noting down the scores. And this is sort of like I would say like that's where I started like loving data and naturally the data is the sort of not, I wouldn't call it source, but it's the genesis of machine learning. So that's so I would say natural. I was always a AI machine learning engineer in that sense, if you really think from a natural perspective. But from
Right.
a practice perspective, I started doing machine learning in a, let's say, 4 years ago. But there's an even better story, right? Uh, Around 21, like I that's when I sort of like started writing software. The first time I saw a computer, like I told you, the first time I got TV, I was able to see a TV was 12. The first time I was able to touch a computer was around 18. This when I got into computer science school. And because of my passion for cricket, one of the things that I did was actually write a video game, because that's the most natural thing anybody does, like program a video game. And since cricket was my passion, I,
Yeah.
I I sort of like started writing that. And
Okay.
during this writing of the game, I kind of realized, like, again, like I had to sort of like simulate these cricket matches. So as in like, so basically I was generating fantasy matches at that time, like when I was 18. So that's literally what generative AI is right now, right? So you sort of simulate how the world works. So in that sense, again, like, because all these definitions that we make are arbitrary, right? Like, so what is machine learning? What is data? Like, all these are like, we sort of like put on arbitrary labels. But from a natural perspective, like I said, my beginnings in machine learning probably started at 10. It sort of like solidified around 18. But in terms of actually somebody paying for me to do machine learning is 4 years ago. So that's
Right.
how I put the path.
Okay. Now, for our listener, would you be able to describe what machine learning is or what AI actually is?
Sure. Um, in a sort of like broadest sense, machine learning is literally you are making machine learn about the world, right? And if you think about how we learn, right, we get stimulus from all our five senses. Your standard vision, smell, noise, taste, and touch, and when we get these sort of like signals, we sort of like understand how the world is working, right? So we are sort of like right from the baby, we sort of like, you see, you learn, you see, you learn. So in the sense, like in the 1950s and 60s, some of the brilliant mathematicians of that age thought that, hey, maybe we can sort of like mimic how the brain learns, in terms of, so let's mimic how our internal structures of the brain is, and literally feed them data, like as in, so what's data in the computer world, right? You literally translate everything that you see in the outside world into bits, and you feed this data into this machine that we build. And the more data we feed in, and the more sort of capacity this artificial brain has, the better it learns. So, like, if you think about, hey, what's the brain size of a small ant versus a human? It's literally the difference between a small computing machine versus like a really billions of transistors put together. So
Right. Interesting.
that is why it's called machine learning, because we are literally building a machine to learn like humans. And artificial intelligence is exactly that, right? Because it's not a natural brain, but sort of like an artificial construct of a brain that we're building. Hence, we call that artificial intelligence. So we are literally mimicking human intelligence by trying to reconstruct the brain.
Okay.
So they intentionally like made an effort to emulate how the brain works.
Exactly. How the like if you think about that, the brain has these synapses and neurons. So like they try to mimic that. Um,
So like, how is it able to like discern between like different kinds of data, like visual data, auditory data, or just general data, and
that's a
then
good one. Like, when we sort of actually input those data, we actually tell them, hey, this is vision, this is audit, and this is text, kind of thing. So we sort of like, there is a process called labeling. So, and even within text, let's not take text as an example. Even within say video, when we feed them video data, like we sort of label them, hey, this is a can of water, that's a car, that's a traffic light. And as most viewers have known, like when they were solving all those capture things, they're literally training the machine to recognize all those objects that you sort of label them. So, uh, that's what happens in vision. But text, we have this sort of a automatic labeling, right? Like if you think about text, like every text is its own label, right? Like, and the words that come next to each other can be its own kind of label. So text has
Okay.
this natural sort of labeling mechanism. So we don't have to sort of like go and label the text itself. So that's the advantage text has. But audio, we go back to the same thing. Like it's we need to label audio data. So
Okay.
and currently, of course, like I don't know, like haven't uh, researched too much. Like of course, people are building smell models and taste models. It's going to be similar. Like so, we're going to sort of like take all the sensor like input and digitize them and then label them, and that's how we sort of hopefully build a tasting and a um, smelling machine, if you will.
So like classifying the data is like one thing. So how is AI actually able to kind of like discern and come to different conclusions? How is it able to like rationalize and reason to an extent?
So when you say rationalize and reason, you're mostly talking about large language models, which are like sort of like trained on text. Uh, and it goes back to almost like a, if you look at all the movies, like there's a robot that kind of literally flips all the books and understands the word. That's literally what it does. And it has developed that level of intelligence or abstraction or reasoning just by reading terabytes and terabytes of text and like millions and billions of books. Just to give an example, if you just give
Wow.
a machine learning box, just a simple alphabet text, let's say A, B, what's A for apple, B for boy, C for cat, book,
Right.
it'll just see that and it cannot make any connections. But the more you feed data, then it'll see more and more and more connections. So initially, probably it'll only see two-word connection. Okay, B for bat or B for ball, kind of thing. Oh, it'll make this. Oh, B is for ball, B is for cat, kind of, just like how a kid learns. And then it'll sort of see patterns in three or four words coming together, or like a sort of a sentence being used at similar place, or like a paragraph that usually comes around this scenario. Like so, it's sort of like it continuously forms those sort of like level of abstraction and intelligence. And initially, like and finally, like if you feed them enough sort of books or data, like millions in the order of millions or billions of books, it'll be able to sort of like really get intelligence in terms of understanding the connections between all the words. But still, it all boils down to it reading the data. That's
Huh. That's very interesting.
So like, I know you've been in the field over a while and you've been able to like watch the progression. Has it like, have you been able to see it become like more and more something that resembles a human versus just like a more of a tool slash machine? Like, have you been able to see the progression of the intelligence and can you kind of walk us through that?
yes, and also like I'm so blessed. Like I said, like when I grew up, like I only had a bicycle and a radio as technology. And today I'm able to play with the smartest intelligent machine. So the progress has been like really amazing. And nobody had predicted that it would see such a rapid progress, especially in the fields of LLM. Like LLM was still a nascent field. Like people, when it was invented, it was mostly used for autocomplete. Like when you typed, Google invented the large language model um, innovation. It's called the transformer model, and we did it to literally to help you with your autocomplete in your like when you type in your search bar. So that's how it started. But and then we sort of like saw that it also works very well in translation, language translation, and it was like we use it for Google Translate. But like we didn't sort of like were bold enough to sort of take it even further. Hey, how far can it go? And OpenAI did that, like, and they sort of like, hey, let's see how far we can take this. And they sort of like took the bold move of feeding more and more and more data on a like a really larger and larger machine. and that usually takes millions of dollars to train. And OpenAI was willing to make that bet, and they were able. And then they saw it was just a hungry reading machine, if you will, right? Like the more it read, the more intelligent it became, and they were like, okay, where does it stop? Like, and then like, okay, let's feed it. Like,
Yeah.
and it became its own beast. So like
Right.
you can see that progress of it being intelligent, and like every sort of like training run, if you will. So it's almost like seeing a baby grow from the babbling uh, infant to like a well-spoken adult. So it's you can see that translation with your eyes. So
So like I assume the rate of progression is much quicker than like a human being going from like baby to adult, right? This AI is learning way quicker or progressing.
uh, it depends on your definition of quick, right? So it you can say it's quick only because it can read a million books in like in a few hours, right?
Sure.
But in the sense, is it quicker? Like a kid only needs 5 or 6 books to sort of like get a lot of things to reach a level of intelligence. Like like even when I was growing up, probably read probably 10 or 15 books at the most before I became intelligent enough. And the machine, I don't think it could have been as intelligent by just reading 20 books. So it's quicker only because it can read the books faster, but it's not quicker by just like it doesn't it's not quick in terms of if you look at the number of books it needs to be read. Like it's the same with driving. Like you probably need a competent kid will learn driving in 2 hours. Like they'll get the basic concept of driving and they'll start driving in 2 hours, but a machine needs millions of hours of training to get to the competency level. So and
Interesting.
that's why you see like uh, when we try to build a self-driving car, it takes a long time than to teach a kid. So depends on which dimension you're looking at.
So the growth, would you say the growth has been exponential?
Yeah, um, I mean, like if you like as a math person, everything is exponential. So no,
Yeah.
I mean like even if you a linear curve is an exponential curve too, like for some definition, some degree of exponential, right? So
Yeah.
I don't want to sort of like overuse that word exponential, only because exactly this, right? Like exponential can double every. That's one kind of exponential, and something that grows 2% is also exponential, but these two will have completely separate path, if you will, right? So
Sure.
because like you're like your whatever interest you that your bank paid at least 2 years ago, that also is an exponential growth, but it'll take it would have taken like 30 years for you to double. But something that just so that's why I want to sort of like use that term because it's too generic. So
Okay.
it has been pretty rapid, the
They're
progress.
throwing it around. They're throwing that word. That's why I ask.
Yes.
So like I know quantity of data is important to an extent, but is quality how important is quality? Because I know if you feed it maybe low quality data, it'll regress. Do you think?
It does. But again, like there is no sort of like hardcore research that is done on this. There are certain research that suggests, hey, high quality data is better. But having said that, like sometimes it just need any data. I'll take any kind of data because probably what may happen is like let's say if you just sort of focus on quality data, like and some definition of quality, we may sort of like end up with just highbrow magazines or textbooks, and maybe this may not be as intelligent if you just kind of like also add Reddit or even 4chan for that matter. So like it also needs to be diverse. So like as in, um, so like so quality and diversity is also important. So I would say both of them.
Have you kind of like noticed the AI developing any semblance of technologies like different AIs have different, like slightly different personalities that, or emulation of a personality?
It does. And it all goes back to how one company or trains the data. So, and different companies may have different value systems or different constitution, or even like it could just be like a random luck of who they hire to train, like because it still needs what we call a human feedback loop. So, and you may just get lucky that you may get a bunch of people who are who have certain value systems versus some other value system. So yeah, based on that, your AI personality may be completely different.
Do you think there's like a danger if somebody's training it and their value systems are somewhat malicious and therefore they're transferring that sort of behavior to the AI?
So yeah, that model is dangerous. But again, like when you say dangerous, like is it if it's just speaking or spitting out tokens? Sure, it may be harmful or hurtful in it may tell you bad things or ask you to do harmful things, but still it doesn't have control of the outside world to call it
Right.
dangerous. But so
Right.
yeah, like all these things are when you say dangerous, you have to be careful. What exactly do you mean dangerous? Unless it has access to physical things, can it actually execute on the dangerous things that it can think? Maybe it can manipulate some people's thoughts or perceptions, but that is true with every model. So yeah, like all those things are true. So
So maybe it's my speculation, but AI is behind, like, say, like a YouTube algorithm, like what you're getting shown on your feed.
Mhm.
So, like, can AI sort of like push somebody to think this way because it's showing more of this video? Like, will it eventually have the power to shape perception?
When you say will, it as in like it's obviously the person who's like writing the algorithm and like deciding which one to weight. Like when I say weight, let's say for example, I can write an algorithm to say, hey, show this person what he's actually interested in, and only show that, and that algorithm will only show things that he's interested in, he or she. Or I can say, hey, show this person. What he's interested, but kind of slowly lead him to sort of like this direction. You can write an algorithm for that too, or you can say, "Hey, show this person what they are interested in," and also like occasionally insert random videos. In fact, like TikTok's algorithm is like that. Like, although it kind of shows your likes, but it also occasionally throws you random videos so that so that they can gauge interest in. Hey, maybe you may also be interested in something else. So these are all like choices that you make when you sort of like uh, build the algorithm. So yeah, like as in at the end of the day, like you are showing a video, and obviously watching a video is an emotional experience for anyone, and all movies manipulate your manipulations, including all videos. And you can absolutely write an algorithm to manipulate any behavior. Uh, but again, like at least these large companies like Meta, Google, and TikTok, they have to sort of like cater to almost like 5 billion users. So they have to be diverse and not sort of like drive anyone to any sort of like black hole, if you will, because they might lose
Right.
the audience. So
I see. So, I mean, are they feeding it things like Reddit? Are they feeding it encyclopedias, Encyclopedia
yeah,
Britannica? Like what? It's being
all,
fed all of that?
yeah, all large language models uh, are read the entire internet. So
Oh, wow.
Like, is there any possibility for like the AI to diverge from the initial, training? Like, it's trained on this value, but then it's experiencing this, and this, and now it's slowly shifting away and coming to its own like value system, so to say.
there are researches that are done by Anthropic that sort of like where they try to understand how it is learning, like, and what kind of data sort of like uh, allows them to allows it to behave in a certain way. Uh, yeah, like as in like training data matters. How we give feedback to the model matters. Yeah, all those things matter, and even the mix of things that you give matters. Yeah, everything is. What's the right word? It's almost like a human, right? Like what you expose a human is what you get at the end.
Right.
This is so
What
yeah.
what you expose and what you teach, like so, it's literally the same thing. Like so, you expose a kid to certain things, and you also teach them certain values, and yeah, like and that will have an effect on how the kid grows. So,
I see. So, and is all of this open source, these language models, or is it proprietary?
I mean, open source is a very vague term in AI. In a traditional open source term, let's say the Linux kernel, right? Linus Torvalds literally sat in a basement and he started writing the code from the scratch, and right from that process, he gave away that code to everybody. So
Wow.
everybody can recreate Linux from the beginning. But in a large language model says open source, it's only they give away just the brain part. Like just to give an example, like so they give away the brain so you can replicate the brain, but they don't tell you how the brain was made initially. So you can only replicate it, and only like not all models are open source. Only like Meta Llama and there are some few Chinese companies that have released it as open source, and also like there is a French company called Mistral. They also release that as release the models as open source.
Okay.
Um,
So a
but
few
not
companies, there's a couple of companies that are doing it, is what you're saying?
yes, not all
Okay.
of them are open sourcing it. Yeah, but
Right.
even like even with Google, we have a proprietary model called Gemini that's not open source. But what we have done is we have released a smaller model called Gemma that is open source. So open source in the sense is like it's the technical term is open weights. But yeah, all these models are open weights, not open source.
Okay.
Is there going to be a point where like these AI agents they're going to be able to like teach each other or like as they say steel sharpen steel like they're talking to each other they're learning and teaching each other.
They can like, but it depends on. This is actually a good example, right? Let's say, for example, if you have two models that only know how to add numbers, right? So they can teach each other how to add numbers, but they can never learn multiplication because both of them don't know multiplication. So there's a limit to how much they can teach each other because they'll reach to the saturation point of the highest capable of any one model. The open question is, can they learn new things? Like, just to go back to the example, if both of them know addition only how to add numbers, will they talk their way to discover multiplication? We don't know that yet. So
Right.
So like if let's just say hypothetically they are able to reason and learn and teach each other like do you think there's going to be a point where they just like far surpass human beings because they can process this data so much quicker?
no, there are people who claim that, uh, but it's not happened. So just to give an example, right? Let's say the whatever the current latest model that we have, if you feed them only material till 1900, well, let's say if you've only given you material what happened till 1920
Okay.
and there's no other material going for that, can it come
Right.
up with a theory of relativity like Einstein did, right?
Right. Right.
If you ask me, it won't. I don't think it'll come up with the theory of relativity on its own. So you needed that special intelligence from Einstein to get it. So unless like there are more evidence of such thing happens, I would doubt that. But having said that, what AI models can do is they can explore uh, an infinite space, if you will, because they have the time and resources to literally explore all the things. But there are certain things in the universe which takes time more than the length of the universe, even with however compute you can throw. So you have to come up with some ingenuity to sort of like come up with new innovations or creativity. So, just to give an example, let's say if you want to find the fastest path from here to San Francisco, New York to San Francisco, right? Um, there are certain things you can do, as in, like, you can literally go to every path and see which one is the shortest path. Like you literally try every combination of paths. But actually, you cannot do that because that the number of combination explodes into 10 to the power of 40 or whatever. So,
Wow.
um, so little things like that uh, goes beyond the time limits of what even machines can do. So they cannot use this approach of, okay, let's just explore everything and find the right answer. So they have to come up with intelligence.
Yeah.
And that it hasn't, like, again, like, people differ on this. I don't think it has shown that level of intelligence yet. It is
Okay.
still it is still pattern matching. It is still sort of like almost like reading back the training data and making. Of course, it makes connections within the training data, but uh, I don't think it has made any sort of like a leap in sort of like imagination or creativity.
So, a lot of people talk about AGI,
Mhm.
artificial general intelligence. I know a lot of the futurists out there, they talk about this as well. What's your stance on when is that going to happen? Is it possible that it happens at all?
Um, the way I see it is, they it's going to mimic a lot of human intelligence. That is going to happen. Like, pretty soon we can mimic uh, the behavior, or even the what we call the intelligence of the smartest person in the planet, like what they call, like, Einstein level or PhD level. But the thing that is not solved yet is the mistakes they make, as in, like, they not only make the mistakes, but they are not aware of they made the mistakes. That's the biggest difference between humans and AI. When humans do something, and when they're not confident about whatever they have come up with, you can tell, the other person can tell, or they themselves are aware. Hey, I'm not confident about this.
Right.
But AI can sort of like tell something, and the surrounding things around it will be very confident. But let's say there's a crucial statement in that which is a lie, or which is a made up thing, and nobody can detect that, because the surrounding paragraphs will sound very intelligent, very true, but that one line is a total bullshit. And it's very hard for even people, the smartest people, to sort of like find that anomalies. And AI themselves cannot find that anomaly. So as long as it's almost like a loophole in their intelligence, as long as they have that loophole, uh, I would say the imagination of this ASI or AGI, where uh, they they have enough capability to do everything. Uh, I think we always will always need humans in the loop till that problem is solved, and we don't have a correct we don't have a correct path or the direct path to say, hey, we can solve the problem. We are trying to solve the problem, but we have not yet of this what we call reliability. Like, they still make very dumb mistakes. Even, like, say there are trick questions, right? Like, that you can ask AI, and it'll falter at the trick question. But if you do the trick on the trick itself, the classic example is, when you ask, which is heavier, the a pound of feathers versus a pound of rock. Uh, the correct answer is both weigh the same because both weigh a pound. But if you ask the same question to AI, in a slightly trickier way, which one weighs more, you know, 10 feathers or 10 rocks, and it'll say they're same uh, because it's trained on the data saying that they both are equal because they weigh the same. But, like, you can easily trick even the most sophisticated AI with this little simple things. And as long as they keep tripping on these simple things, and we don't know how to solve them. We just don't know how to solve it. We just don't know how to give these kind of what we call common sense intelligence. Um,
Right.
it's going to be hard, and people will claim because, of course, it'll sound intelligent. It'll solve. Sometimes it'll solve a brilliant math problem. Of course, it is intelligent. It'll come up with amazing ad phrase or like all those. Like, there's going to be creativity. There's going to be amazing intelligence displayed, but I wouldn't call it full intelligence, and because it trips on like simple things, and because it can trip on simple things, human can exploit that loophole. So that's why we'll always need humans in the loop. So that's my current view.
Right. So are you saying that AI basically, or machine learning, it doesn't self-correct, that it has these errors and it just kind of keeps
Yeah.
going, just
Yes,
keeps going?
and it doesn't know about that. It's not aware that it made an error.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. And until we solve that problem, it's always going to be, we always need humans. So any sort of like proclamation of it's going to take our jobs are not going to be true, because we always need humans to sort of like oversee it, like every step.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, speaking of AI in the workplace, as AI starts becoming more and more, it resembles humanity more and more, especially in the emotional aspect. Do we start giving like anything that implements AI like rights? Say, for example, it's working. We've been working it for 18 hours a day, and it starts, giving the semblance that it's tired. Do we say, hey, you can take a break, or you just keep pushing, pushing, pushing since it's quote unquote a machine?
Um, there are two ways to answer this, right? Like the humans, whether can AI have rights to it? That's obviously a philosophical and a political question, and I'm pretty sure the society is going to divide there. I can almost foresee that coming. But in terms of take a break and because you're working too hard, that may actually work on AIs only because they've been trained on data that's saying that, hey, if you take rest, you will be more rejuvenated and you'll be more productive. And it actually might work.
Yeah, right.
So it's almost like a trick to sort of like get them more productive to use these hacks. But in terms of like giving them constitutional rights, it's a separate thing. So that's
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting seeing how the future progresses on that end. But like in terms of benefiting humanity, like how do you really foresee AI in say like the next 20 years just really benefiting and changing society?
I personally think it's going to solve a lot of humanity's big issues, mostly in terms of finding cures for most of the diseases, if not all, including trying to simulate how the human body works so that we can literally reverse aging and uh, do all sorts of cool things in the biology world. Same thing with materials. Like if you think about climate change and energy efficient, like it all boils down to the materials. Like if you use a superconductor or like an extremely efficient energy sort of conductor, you can minimize the use of our energy by almost half, if not more. So, and also like we can come up with new ideas for carbon capture or like more efficient ways of generating electricity, more efficient ways of desalination. Like, so all those sort of like problems will be solved because of AI, only because we can sort of like even the knowledge that humans possess and like you sort of like use that knowledge million or billion times, that'll inevitably lead to discoveries and um,
Right.
innovations, not on its own, but like even like let's say, even in the most expert scientists can only look at two or three things. But if an AI can give it 500 things and even 10 of them looks promising, and then we can go give another set of brilliant people to sort of like proceed with the research. So all those things will happen. So like the area of exploration and innovation and creativity is going to explode in the next 20 years. and we'll see the results of that in terms of beneficial benefits to humanity. So.
Awesome. So, like, are there any books or movies that kind of paint the ideal vision of the future that you see? Like, I want the future to look like this.
So I would even say, like, what's the latest book from Ezra Klein, right? Like the Abundance. It's a pretty good book in terms of what is possible with the AI and everything. Um, there are lot of science fiction, right? Like there is Nick Bostrom's book that has predicted singularity, but I think like if you think about like the reason why I don't recommend fiction or science fiction is at the end of the day it is fiction, right? Like so, and any fiction needs drama and all the emotional manipulation, and it'll always leads to some dystopian uh, sort of storyline need to be weaved in. So I don't recommend them because there are no good books that paints a positive story of fiction only because it won't sell. Like you have to have the dystopian view of the world to sell books. So, um, but maybe like if I remember something, I'll text you or send you.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like, okay, let's say the ideal path. Like, what would like a day to day life look like? Say, like AI is really doing, like, really helping humanity out. Like, what would our ideal day to day life look like in your mind?
So definitely, it's going to be a great assistant for you. So number one is if you think about um, you have 16 hours of waking day and you want to be as productive as sort of like happy in your day and if you think about all the things that you don't need to do AI should be able to do it like whether it's a laundry or cooking or booking a vacation, everything that you don't need to do you don't have to do in this post AGI world. And even like and it'll help you sort of develop skills if you will, like so whatever you want to sort of like master they will like whether if you want to master tennis or golf or just auto repair, whatever, like any kind of skill that you imagine can be easily mastered because of AI. And it'll provide you the right materials, the right coach, the right everything at the right time for you to sort of like learn at like a really faster pace than you can imagine. Again, like just to give an example of tying back my story to the cricket when I started playing cricket at age 10. Today, I still play cricket, but I play it on my VR. In the real world, you can only play 60 pitches a day, like just to give an like comparatively. But in the VR world, I can do like a 2,000 per day. Like it's a 10 times or 20 times more practice, and
Oh,
the
wow.
feedback loop is immediate, and the rate of progress. Like I've been playing for the last 15 months, and the amount of things that I've learned even at this age is like 10x what I learned when I was
Wow.
over what I learned in 10 years. So like the learning rate is going to compress like in whatever you want to do, like whether it's you want to learn how to play a piano or guitar, like all those things is going to compress massively because you'll also be given like a biological uh, sort of boost also like in terms of like higher dexterity or strength, like all those things will be available to you so you can really become a superman if you choose to like in the post AI world. And again like if deployed well, like as I said, like the most of humanity's problems can be solved, but of course there's always going to be bad actors that can use AI for nefarious purposes. How do we deal with that? That's another issue. But like if everything goes well, like yeah, you can live your best Superman life if you choose to. So
Right.
And
So
then there is longevity, and like you can live forever if you want. And then there's like another philosophical question about happiness, and like, uh, do you really want to eliminate all sadness, or is it sadness that causes you pleasure, pain, all those? Like then there's going to be you'll be answering those philosophical questions. So,
I see. So realistically, how many years away do you think we are from AGI?
again, like AGI is like a it's a vague term, as in so. I think like it'll be like the progress will be every year. You're gonna see something new. I will let me put it that way, as opposed to a date. Like as I mentioned, like the problem of it making stupid mistakes may
Right.
never be solved. And to me, like if it's making stupid mistakes, I don't call it AGI. But some people may, right? Like so, it all depends on your definition, right? So
Right.
so that may be 20 years away, but for some people, hey, I can tolerate with these stupid mistakes it's made because I can work around those stupid mistakes, and it can do everything else. So it could be 3 years. So it all depends on your definition, but like to me, it doesn't matter. Like what matters is what it is giving you in 2025, what it's going to give you in 2026. Like you should kind of look at it in that way, like in terms of you sort of like figure out what's happening in the biological world, what are the kind of improvements that we're getting every year, what's happening in the material science world. I think it's better to see it that way than any sort of like single moment where we call AGI, because I don't think anybody can define that one moment that we reach AGI or ASI for that matter.
Awesome. So, like, I know a lot of CEOs, they may not be the most technical people, and you have a lot of salesmen. They need to sell a certain product. So, like, how much of AI being able to replace jobs is real versus kind of like the hype, and like, where would companies really be making mistakes and letting humans go and replacing it with AI?
I think like the best strategy for any company is to use AI to train their people, like upskill their people to sort of like use AI to build more things. There are infinite things to be built, and human desires are infinite. That's the one thing you can almost guarantee. So there's always going to be craving for new things to be built, and there's always going to be things to do. And in terms of uh, labor, I actually foresee the opposite. Like we're going to see a massive increase in demand for labor, and we may not be able to meet it, at least for the next 15 years, including like artists and programmers. There's going to be a massive demand for them, only because you need a human in loop for it to verify what it builds.
Right.
And because it builds at an extremely fast pace, you need more humans to actually sort of like just to sort of like babysit or manage the things that are being built by AI.
Yeah.
And there are not enough humans in the world to sort of like do that. So I foresee an opposite problem of uh, demand for labor being more than ever before.
That's interesting.
Interesting. So, like, what would you say is like how should people start preparing to not be obsolete? Because technology, the tech industry changes really rapidly, so you can't really just be the same today as you are tomorrow. So, what should they be preparing themselves?
So if you think about what AI is a child prodigy. Right? So you have to understand the strengths and weaknesses of this child prodigy, and also understand how to sort of like, I don't want to use the word tame, but like sort of like use it to make your life better, to and make it give you what you want. And that's an art and that's a skill. So the best thing that can do is literally play around with an AI model, whether it's Gemini or ChatGPT. Just literally play and ask questions and explore and explore and explore. There's a lot of talk about like junior programmers how are not getting jobs, or even for that matter, if they don't get a job, how can they become a senior programmer? Like that question has been asked or thrown around. Uh, For me, it's actually the opposite. Like they have a better chance of becoming a better senior programmer just by using AI. Like AI is your mentor. It's your senior programmer. You can ask it anything. You can ask it to and it won't sort of get annoyed or any like. And even in real life, if you have to be really lucky to get a good mentor, like, and only
Right.
one in 5 in 100 are good mentors. Like the 95 actually like waste your time
Wow.
and may give you negative things, you know.
Yeah.
But with AI, you really have like an amazing mentor that are available 24/7, and you can ask deep questions, you can ask stupid questions, you can ask anything, and it'll patiently explain you. Like the many times, like you cannot ask
Yeah.
your mentor questions because, oh, what do they think of me? Like, I've already asked this question. Like, oh, what did like all those things are there are no inhibitions. You can literally, if you're a junior program, you can literally go to the AI and say, how do I build Netflix from scratch? And just simply ask why, just like a kid, and it'll explain you everything. And within 2 years, if you just sit down in front of this AI for 2 years, you'll become one of the greatest programmers. And anybody will hire you if you have that level of skill and
Yeah.
depth of knowledge.
So, like, for you personally, when looking to bring somebody on your team, like, what is something that makes like a junior or just any software engineer or anybody in tech really stand out for you to really want to bring them on?
Say that again.
Oh, like what makes somebody really stand out as an engineer to really make them like to make you want to bring them on your team? Like, what
The
traits?
curiosity and passion, like as in like if they should be excited about building things. That's one thing. And yeah, like if they are excited to build things, I would love to work with them. And because they obviously bring passions, and of course two other is their skill level, right? It is kind of important. Like even though if you have passion, if you don't have the skill, it's hard. And the third is always integrity. So the three things that I look is integrity, skills, and passion. That's and exactly, like if you think about, and these three are constant forever, right? So it's
Right.
whatever field you are in, like I think these three sort of like pillars will always help you find the right talent.
Sure.
Yeah, I think integrity is going to be incredibly important with a technology as powerful as AI, because a lack of morals and integrity can have disastrous consequences. So I think that's something that's really going to have to be looked at on job interviews if they're going to be able to have access to training and building these kind of systems.
Exactly.
Now, what about psychology? People are already doing this.
Mhm.
They're using ChatGPT as their personal therapist. So what are your thoughts on that, and what are your thoughts on the future of that?
I think it's an overall good thing. If you think about, there's always going to be stories about some people going on the extreme end of making AI their, one true, boyfriend, girlfriend, or like a therapist. But there are like on the silently there are, it's helping millions of people. Like the people don't sort of like use that side of the equation. Um, and it's a good thing because like all these models are aligned, and in very rare cases it may sidetrack, and it may be unhealthy for the person. uh, I think like I don't know how to sort of answer this in terms of like they need, at the end of the day, they still need some friend or confidant in the real life, even if they can meet them once a week or once in 2 weeks, just to sort of like make sure that this person is not going too much off the track, if you will. As long as they have the balance, I think AI is going to be, and again, just like a great mentor, it'll be a great psychiatrist or psychologist that helps people. So,
That's
well,
awesome.
the only thing is like, yeah, like in this, I would say like, obviously we cannot mandate, and some people may simply don't have a best friend that they can talk to, right? Like, so a completely different issue. But like, as long as they're also interacting with the real world and real people, it's actually very healthy, if you ask me.
Awesome. So yeah, we're getting to the top of the hour. Like, where can people find you at if they want to reach out to you?
Oh, they can reach out to me through my LinkedIn. I think you're going to put that in the
Yep,
show notes or something. Yeah.
most definitely. And did you want to leave our audience with any closing thoughts?
Yeah. The one thing that I want to say is you have to embrace AI. It is going to change everything in this world. And there's going to be a lot of negative stories about AI. Uh, but those are all I personally feel is exaggerated, both the dystopian view of whether it's the Skynet vision or the taking away jobs path, or even then there are like stealing aspects of it. Um, but all of those are like very minimal compared to the benefits everyone can get, including artists and programmers and if you're the poorest person in the planet or the richest person in the planet. That's one of the things that I always sort of got from technology is like if you go and visit like the poorest people in Bangladesh or Kenya, they're so grateful for technology, and most people in the Western world don't understand how beneficial it is to them. They think it's destroying their life or whatever. It's actually not true. That it is immensely helpful. People thank God. Like when people say I work at Google, like like when I visit India and I visit a rural town, they literally fall on my feet, kind of thing. Like, oh, thank for Google that has changed my life. Like they literally, they fold their hands and say thank you
Wow.
so much. So that's the kind of reach all this technology has, and people live in the Western bubble. They don't understand this. So just to have that perspective.
Right.
Awesome. Brian, did you have any final question?
Yeah, I did. One thing, I mean, I always like for our listeners, people that are junior devs, people that are, pretty green in the industry, just getting started. If their main focus is machine learning, if their
Mhm.
main focus is AI, what's the number one tip you would give them for being hireable?
Sure. One thing is like be active in communities in terms of try sort of like whether it's a Reddit community or like other Hugging Face community, try to sort of like uh, look at the models, download the models, play with it, and sort of like just follow through all the tutorials and showcase your findings of works of whatever you do kind of thing. You can do your own research. You can literally ask whatever burning questions in your mind to say literally ChatGPT or Gemini, and it'll kind of lead you through a little research path that you can take, and you can sort of like download an open source model and play with it and publish your findings to even on Reddit or Twitter, and just sort of like build up that stream of work or portfolio, if you will, and it'll always going to benefit. It'll also help you improve your own sort of understanding of AI, but also like helps you sort of like be more employable, if you will, if that's the word. So
Right. So basically, well, exactly what you said. They'll become hireable as they do things like projects, post stuff to their GitHub, just
yes,
kind of be very open to things, posting stuff on forums, Reddit.
yes.
So that's the main thing that you would tell someone to
Yes,
do.
like doing is the
Yeah.
best form of any sort of like in any field. Like you just have to go and do it. Like that is there's no substitute for that.
Yeah.
And you can spend a lot of time on a lot of wasting time on just browsing the internet or even musing about the future and all those things. But if you do even like 4 hours a day, you'll be completely different than any sort of like you'll be already in the top 1 percentile.
Wow. That's great advice.
Yeah.
It was amazing having you on, man. Whenever you want to come back, let us know. We'll bring you back. We definitely appreciate you spending time with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Bye
And
bye.
we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll catch y'all next time.
Thanks, guys.